Welcome Doctor Who fanatics to my third part of my Doctor Who DVD collection in depth. Today I'll be taking a look at another favourite Doctor of mine, my second favourite to be precise, known as Jon Pertwee. So sit back and relax while I go through his fantastic era. Alright, let's start with his first story in one of my favourite seasons of all time, known as Season 7, starting with Spearhead from Space, an absolute classic story. In my opinion, it's highly essential which you would see this one, because it's probably one of the best introduction stories. My second favourite introduction story, to be precise. The Autons are at their best here, it's their introduction story as well. Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier returns in this, as well as a massive role for Jon Pertwee's era, and a very sinister and devious enemy known as Channon, who's absolutely brilliant. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's really comedic in some places, or as a very well written story. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's really enjoyable. Doctor Who and the Silurians. A lot of people don't like this story or say it's too long, but I think the length is actually absolutely perfect. I really enjoy this story. Has a great concept to it. The effects for the dinosaur or the reptile is absolutely, I think it's really good for its time. It's a lot better than the Invasion of the Dinosaurs. But yeah, the effects on this were really good. The Silurians were really threatening this one, not as much in Warriors of the Deep, since they did hardly anything. It's a very good story, a very good pace to it, and I just enjoy the story. The Ambassadors of Death. Now, in my opinion, this is the weakest one, in my opinion, from Season 7. David Whittaker wrote a little bit of it, but he wasn't a fan of the story, so he just stopped writing it. And it does have, you know, that good mystery feel to it, but I think it just loses it. I think someone else, I think Malcolm Hulk written the rest, and someone else, but yeah, it's a good story. It still has a very strong feeling to it, but I think it rattles on too long. Inferno, the Granddaddy story. This is probably a cover which I prefer on the original rather than the special edition, because it feels more like a Doomsday End of the World cover because of all the fire in it, and the brigade leader looks more threatening on it. Anyway, Inferno is a fantastic story, highly essential, one of the Pertwee's best stories. My second favourite Pertwee story, to be precise. It's very close to be my favourite because of how good it is. It's so good. I really enjoy Inferno. Highly essential. Original, special edition. Just pick your poison. They're both just as good. Terror of the Autons. Season 8. Another one of my favourite seasons. This is the introduction of one of my favourite companions, Joe Grant, who was Kitty Manning, as well one of my favourite actors or villains, the Master, played by Roger Delgado. Just a fantastic actor. You know how much I like Roger Delgado. I don't really like the Autons in this, well, mainly their costumes, but again, it's a great story. It's still definitely in my top 10. It's very enjoyable. The Autons are not as good because it's mostly focused on the Master in this season, since he's in all the stories, but great story. The Mind of Evil, personally my favourite Jon Pertwee story. I know this one is really overlooked by fans, but I class it to be a classic. It's surprisingly dark in this, and don't believe the you, because I wouldn't believe it. If I rated it, it would be a PG. But Mind of Evil, I absolutely love the story. Check out my reviews, since you know the opinions on why I love it. The Machine is fantastic. It's my favourite Master story, since he's just so awesome in this story. Absolutely loving this story. Some great action scenes. I know the cliffhangers are very repetitive, and some people find the ending very anticlimactic, but I don't think it would have gone any other way. But love the story so much. The Claws of Axos. Yeah, this one's pretty good. It's not the best Pertwee story, but I still enjoy it. The Axons are good one-off monsters. They have appeared before, well, after the Claws of Axos, called the Feast of Axos, which is a big finish order, which goes forward from this story. So if you want to find out what happened to the Axons, since they went into a time loop. But the Claws of Axos is a great story, and I won't go too much into detail with it, but it is a good one, but it's not at its best. It's still quite of an end of the world story again, where the Axons do something with Axonite. Colony in Space. Probably one of the dud stories in my opinion. This one just rattles on too long, or it takes a long time to get into it. And it has some fantastic characters, I gotta admit, but it is painfully slow. It takes the master forever to get into it and find out what his plot is. But again, it's quite good. It's not one of my favourites. I can watch it easily. The alien monster designs it's alright. The Daemons, another classic story. I really enjoyed the Daemons. Is Hammer horror at its very best. If you like Hammer House of Horror, this might be the stuff of dreams right by here. The Daemon itself is a very Hammer horror style monster. He's great. The master uses black magic, where he's just like at his most devious form. He's just brilliant in the story. Check it out. It's a great story. A Day of the Daleks, a Dalek story which I appreciate, which not a lot of people do appreciate. I have come to like this Dalek story. It's my second favourite Dalek story from the Pertwee era. Personally, my favourite one is Death to the Daleks, but I enjoy watching this one. I know a lot of people don't like it, that's why I got it signed, because I actually enjoy Day of the Daleks. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I find it an enjoyable story. It doesn't take itself over the top serious, but it's a good Dalek story. It's one of my honourables, so it was its 11th place. The Curse of Paladin. Now, it has a bit of the Ice Warrior curse. Well, actually not this one. It doesn't have an Ice Warrior curse. I always said with an Ice Warrior curse, their stories are too long. But this one's a 4-parter, so it focuses it. Even though the Ice Warriors aren't really the main threat, or aren't a threat at all. But the Curse of Paladin, I'm not the biggest fan of the Paladin stories, if I'm perfectly honest. But what's so strong about the Paladin stories? That has great characterization and characters and a story as well. But they're just not my favourites, if I'm honest. I don't know why, but they're just not my favourites. I've heard this one's a really popular one, but don't listen to me, because this is just my personal opinion. If you love the story, then I can't say if you're wrong or anything, because that's opinions. The Sea Devils, a great story. The Sea Devils are really good. Well, naturally, they're not a one-off monster because they returned, but I think they would have been quite good. I think they would be good to see a return in Series 8. They're quite good monsters. They're a lot like the Silurians. I hope they don't screw them up like what they did with the Silurians, but I hope they still keep their Sea Devilness to them. The Mutants, my least favourite my least favourite Jon Pertwee story, because the story itself, naff. It's just a naff for me. The monsters aren't really convincing, they don't have a really good plot, they're not really threatening at all. It's not really well written story in my opinion, and it has some crap actors in it as well. I don't enjoy this Pertwee story. The Time Monster. Unbelievable guilty pleasure of mine. It's said to be the worst Jon Pertwee story ever. I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen it in a very long time. I've seen it twice, but I always come to enjoy it. So I will watch it again. It has great commentary to it. It suffers from the same thing as The Chase, where it's a good story, but it's just so much comedy in it. But again, I love it. I really enjoy this one. I just love all the scenes in it. It's hilarious, but it has a good story as well. The Three Doctors has so much people's opinions on the story. People love it, people hate it, people despise it, but Three Doctors, I love it, because it's the return of Patrick Troughton, and I love Patrick Troughton. He's such a brilliant Doctor, and I just love it how Jon Pertwee and Patrick Troughton as the Doctor just communicate to each other. It's really funny. I enjoy the Three Doctors. I don't mind if you hate the story, it's your opinion, but I personally love it. And yeah, it has some faults, like what the jelly monsters or whatever, I don't know what they're called, but no, they're terrible. But Omega's probably at his best here, even though they ruined him in Arc of Infinity, even though they didn't even want him back either. Carnival of Monsters, very clever written story by Robert Holmes, and not a lot of people like to think about this story when they think of the almighty god Robert Holmes, but I think this is a clever story. I think Robert Holmes trying to do a different approach here. He tried to do some sort of clever story, and I think it worked. It is a clever story. Again, it has its faults. The Jurassics are very good for their effects. They are good monsters as well. I think it's just a fun run around, really. I enjoy Carnival of Monsters. Again, it's I enjoyed that. I like the original cover more than this special edition. I don't know why. Maybe it looks a little more funky. I don't know, but I just like that. I like that cover. Frontier in Space. Again, I think it suffers from the colony and space disease. It just takes forever. It just absolutely takes forever for the plot to kick in, in my opinion. Well, it does start off to show something, but I just think this story takes a long while before anything major happens. But again, it's enjoyable. It's a good story. And then following from that, we have Planet of the Daleks. Great Dalek story. I know it's my least favourite Dalek story from the Pertwee era, but all the Pertwee stories for Dalek, all the Dalek Pertwee stories do get a lot of, you know, not a lot of people don't like them, but I enjoy it. It's not my favourite Dalek story. It's like the trash compactor Dalek story where they just infuse all the Dalek stories together and just put it into one. But yeah, it's good. The Green Death, another good story. The maggots, the creepy evil maggots, and the boss, which is in the background. Yeah, it's another enjoyable story. It's a very good unit story, I find this one. Now moving on to the introduction of Sarah Jane Smith, or as well, the Green Death was the departure of Joe Grant. The Time Warrior, the introduction of Sarah Jane Smith, the brilliant companion as she is. I still hate myself that I haven't met her, which really saddens me. But Time Warrior, classic story. I know it's like a historical with a little tweak to it, but the Sontaran in this is just an absolute brute. And that's what Sontaran's supposed to be like, big brutes, but the new series took that aspect away from them. Just like they did with the Cybermen, they were almighty in the 60s, but the Time Warrior, absolute great story. Love the characters in it, love the Sontaran links in it. The Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Now, a load of people want to avoid this story because when they say dinosaurs in 1970s, they think crap effects, crap story. But don't act like that. Just give it a go, because it's actually a really well clever mystery story. Probably one of the best mystery stories. I enjoy it. The dinosaurs, yeah, they're ropey. They're very, very ropey, but especially the T-Rex. But I enjoy Invasion of the Dinosaurs. It's an underrated story. At least people appreciate it. Some people do, but people just hate it when they haven't even watched it, which sort of bugs me. Death to the Daleks. It's probably a great Dalek story. I know a lot of people hate it. The Daleks get destroyed in so many ways. They get beaten to death by sticks. Not really masters of the universe. But yeah, Death to the Daleks I enjoy. Another comedic Dalek story. Again, doesn't take itself seriously. Well, maybe Planet does, but Death to the Daleks doesn't. It's just comedic. Even though the Dalek, loses one of the hostages and it sort of freaks out. It didn't even think about looking for the person rather than self-destructing itself or whatever. But yeah, Death to the Daleks, it has its faults. But it's funny. It's enjoyable. To the penultimate, we have the Monster of Pallid. Alright, I don't enjoy this story. It has the Ice Warrior curse yet again. It's boring. I don't like this story. It takes forever for the Ice Warriors to get into it. I haven't seen this story in a long time. I don't think I would watch it again. I don't know, maybe I might give it another chance, but I didn't end up enjoying it. Again, I remember having great characters in this story, but I just didn't remember enjoying it. Again, I just don't enjoy the Paladin stories. I know a lot of people do, which is perfectly fine. Planet of the Spiders. I think they just throwed everything about Jon Pertwee and just stuck it into one story. Like, he's a very James Bond style Doctor, and they put all this aspect in it, like, his fighting scenes and his car chasing and all that. It's brilliant. I would have preferred the final game because I think it would have been a much better finale. But still, Planet of the Spiders. I only seen it once actually, and I haven't bothered to watch it again. But I remember enjoying it, but it wasn't my favourite. But still, Planet of the Spiders, I remember it being good. We have completed the Jon Pertwee era. Now we'll be moving on to the Titan Tom Baker era. That is going to take forever. And I have not completed Tom Baker yet. So there might be a little wait for Tom Baker's era because I've only got half of his and it's going to take a long time to get the rest. But some of his are in box sets, so it should be quicker. I don't know when Tom Baker's era will be.